each big city its own Statue of Liberty. And that one there is the Statue of Liberty of Budapest. Now, you might be wondering, which liberty are we talking about? That's the Second World War, and it was erected in 1947. Actually, yeah, it was more to honor the Soviet soldiers who liberated the city of Budapest. But then the public sentiment toward the Soviets has changed. That even led to the revolution of 1956 here in Budapest, that was crushed by the Soviet tanks at the time. And after the collapse of the Soviet Union, they even modified the inscription on that statue. So we'll go there and see what it reads. Oh, someone want to say hi. Let's say hi to the tourists. Nobody want to wave to me, it's fine. Do you think we can climb to the top there? I see people like walking. I want to do like them. Probably we should first go to the cross and then walk to the top. Here we go, some Ibiza tourists. They didn't accept that the summer is over. So that's Pest, the Danube River, Buda, which is the more hilly part of the city. It's beautiful. Alright, let's continue. Here we go. Here is your Soviet inspiration. Erected to commemorate the Soviet sacrifice. I'm disappointed. They closed it. What the heck? You wanna see the entertainment of this morning? Look, let me show you. Look at these three guys.
This one, this, that is the ball. Okay, how much? 100 euro. 1, 2, 3. Oh, is this? This, that is the ball. 1, 2, 3.
I feel bad for these tourists. You see the three guys, they all look same. They're from the same family. So they're pretending that he's moving things, and he says where is kind of the ball or something like that. If he gets it right, he wins, like, you know, big sums, you know, like $100, $200. And the tourists are there, they see the guy winning like $200, say, shit, I also want to win. So the tourists, they bet big. But the whole thing is a scam. And these guys, I remember when I was living in Paris, you see them, what was called Pento or something like that, and it was the specialty of Hungarians in Paris. Now I have his words stuck in my head. This one, this one, this, 100 euros. Beautiful autumn day. Let's go from a different pathway. Let's go from here. I don't know what are these little houses here. Maybe for birds, I don't know. I hope this video allows you to appreciate the uniqueness of this city, because it has it all: nature, hills, beautiful river, one of the second largest in Europe, at the Danube River, the chain bridge, the Hungarian Parliament, beautiful monument. Just look at this. And for a fall season, the weather is just perfect, sunny, not that cold, not that warm. amazing food, quite international actually, and like because one of the things you might miss if you move to East of Europe is a lot of East European capitals are kind of, you know, how to say, I wouldn't position them in the top 10 when it comes to the international aspects. So you won't meet a lot of you know, a lot of foreign people, things like that. Not the case of Budapest. It's a lot of foreigners. Yeah, there is an interesting expat community. Not the classical corporate expat, you know, like sent by a big company to do a job. Like there's a lot of entrepreneurs, and yeah, which I like, to be honest. So you won't feel that. Let's give you another example. For example, Zagreb, Croatia, beautiful other city. It's like a mini Budapest, but like, yeah, maybe 1/10 of its scales. The problem I have with Zagreb is that, yeah, it's Croatian, white Christian city. It's like, yeah, it's not that diverse, I would say, compared to Budapest, for example, where, I don't know, so Indian shops, Turkish shops, Iranian shops, yeah, Hungarian shops. So yeah, I like that diversity, but that's more for me. For you it might not be a problem, but yeah, can't get enough of this view with the beautiful Danube river. Now the Liberty monument, which you just saw, the Liberty statue, so they changed the inscription in front of it. So they took that notion, that mention of the Soviet martyrs, they replaced it by something that means like all the people who died for the independence of Hungary. And there's one thing interesting I like to do when I go to a country, you know, to learn more about its culture. I look at its public holidays, and I look at, you know, like the meaning of each public holidays. Now, here in Hungary, there is few things that happened on June. I mean, related to that statue, there is the June 19th. So June 19th commemorates, actually, exactly it commemorates the fact that the Soviets left the territory of Hungary after the collapse of the Soviet Union. So yeah, because during 45 years, not only they were kind of influencing the politics here in Hungary, but they had like Soviet soldiers here in Budapest. So on June 19 they left, 1990, if I'm not mistaken, and it commemorates also the sacrifice of those who died, you know, 3-4 decades before that in 1956. June, it was actually between October and November, the uprising of Budapest. Yeah, a lot of them died because they revolted against the Socialist Republic of Hungary. So it's the Hungarians revolting against their own government, and the fact that the Soviet Union was kind of dictating a lot of things for them. 1956. And speaking of dates, there is another one which is also interesting for the European and Hungarian history. It's the June 4th, and that one I didn't really understood why it's kind of public. I mean, the national day here in Hungary, because that's the day that marks the Treaty of Trianon. You know, the Trianon, the section of the Versailles Palace in Paris, where they signed on June 4th, 1920, the Treaty of Trianon. You know, it's one of the treaties at the end of the First World War that ripped Hungary of 70% of its territory. So the Hungary you see today is 30% of what it used to be, and the remaining territories, they went to the neighboring countries. The most famous one is Transylvania region, to Romania. There is, for the Romanian, that's the unity that is so important with the Alba Iulia, the city Alba Iulia, where the Romanians decided to unite that region of Transylvania with the rest of Romania. But here on the Hungarian side, it's a tragedy, I would say, in the modern history of Hungary. And one of the fuel, or one of the ingredients that fueled the Second World War actually, is the Treaty of Trianon, because it was seen as an injustice to countries like Hungary. So anyway, that's history. I'm still enjoying this beautiful walk. You see, so we went to the top there where there is the Statue of Liberty, and now we are simply walking down across, you know, along this hill and the Danube River. And I swear you could do this walk anytime, under any weather, during the entire year. I did it last time in summer when I was here. I did last time in winter, now it's autumn, and it is beautiful. It's beautiful, so relaxing. You see, easy access to nature, of course free, clean and safe for everyone. No need for gated communities to get such quality. Now, in all the East European countries that were east of the wall of Berlin, that were under the direct or indirect Soviet Union communist influence, Hungary and Budapest were the first to revolt. In fact, the Hungarian Revolution by the end of the 80s has spread east to, for example, the city of Timișoara, and brought that revolt to Romania and continued from Timișoara to Budapest and overthrew the Romanian regime in an express time, in like less than a week between the revolution of Timișoara and the day where the regime of Nicolae Ceausescu in Bucharest has fallen. It's like 7 days, which was extremely fast. So yeah, it started here in Budapest. So yeah, all of this to say that Hungarians are very attached to their freedom and sentiment of self-ruling, which somehow explains some of the challenges with the European Union as we speak. See what we did? We started from there, that bridge, walked there, then up to the Liberty statue. We couldn't make it to the flag because it was closed. Then we walked along the hill, until there, and came back here. That's what we did. And now I suggest we go get some free tannin right there. There are some beautiful cafes. I want to show you the most beautiful, or that at least that's how they call it, the most beautiful cafe in the world. That one called New York Cafe, and you see all the people in front of it. They are queuing to get inside the cafe. So I think by now you know me. I do not queue. I refuse to queue. I don't care how good the food is. So I'll go find another place nearby. This is a beautiful other Kerület, which is district in Budapest. Is the 7th one actually. I didn't tell you where I'm taking you. I'm taking you to what they call the Museum of Terror. But chill, there is no terror there. They will tell more about the story or the history of two of the most terrifying regimes that existed in Europe, at least in the recent history. And it's by this direction. It's really hard to take the public transport in Budapest. Not because it's bad, but because of this. Not the Gucci store actually, but this, the beauty of the architecture of this city. It's the Opera House of Budapest, and if you like beautiful architecture like I do, it's particularly challenging to take the public transport, because if you do so, you'll be missing on all of this good stuff, which is an entertainment for the eyes and a nourishment for the soul. No, this is too much. This is too much. Alright, I know, it's not fair. This is, yeah, one of the hottest spots of Budapest, near the opera. The other one is near the Hungarian parliament. There's even Louis Vuitton house actually. I invite you to join me there. Let's go have a tea facing beautiful opera of Budapest. You have Bank of China in Budapest, and in front of it you have Huawei again, Chinese company, and then George Clooney with Omega, then a Korean company Samsung, and then another Swiss company Rolex. So looks like Hungary is not following the recommendation of the European Union in terms of which country you should deal with, because yeah, Bank of China, the only European country where I saw Bank of China, sorry, is in Budapest, Hungary. And this is not their most luxurious headquarters, the Bank of China. There is another one a few minutes from here, closer to the Hungarian parliament, and that's, yeah, they took a beautiful Renaissance house. That's the headquarters of the Bank of China. But anyway, I don't know how much business they do with the Hungarians actually. Wow, this is a big museum. Look at it. It's even written there, you see? Terror. Wow. I remember very well this neighborhood because my first time in Budapest, I was living in this street actually. Oh, I see 1956, so this is the uprising of Budapest, I guess, against the Socialist Republic of Hungary that was pretty much ruled by the Soviet regime. Oh, you see, they all died in 58. I guess they were executed at the time. All of them. It's crazy. It's all over the wall. Let's try to get in because it's closing soon. Wow, this was very different from the Communist Museum I took you to in Timisoara. This is the total opposite actually. It still shows how Hungarians kinda used to live under the communist regime, but yeah, it's they took the negatives of the communists to another level. Like, it's everything negative about the Soviet Union. Many of it was true, you know, like the uprising of 1956, you know, when the Hungarians revolted against the Soviet Union, and where the Soviet Union used tanks and live fire to kill civilians who were like unarmed. That's like facts. It's not, they're not exaggerating. But yeah, the rest, it's but it's interesting. Like, okay, in terms of reproducing and showing the event from the time, they did an amazing job. Like, even you see the carpets, like the rugs. It's not just regular rugs. You see like a map of the main events of the Second World War on the rug itself. That's how the rug is made. A lot of original audio of the communist regime of Hungary at the time, speaking good about, you know, like Stalin and the Soviet Union. And interesting that just maybe a few years after, less than 10 years, Khrushchev, who was like the next Soviet president, he was like showing the crimes of Stalin. So yeah, it's, I mean, it should have been interesting for a Hungarian to see the difference of versions between what his own president is saying good about Stalin and the Soviet president after him revealing the crimes that Stalin committed. It's yeah. Otherwise, they give you this. Let me show you something interesting you could get from the museum. It's this. A lot of papers, and they give some interesting information, like the 1956. This is the uprising of Hungary. This is, yeah, there was a basement prison. It was really interesting to see how people were jailed, and yeah, other stuff. Long story short, the conclusion of this museum is there were Hungarians collaborating with the Nazi during the Second World War, torturing people, yeah, doing whatever they wanted at the time, as long as it suits the Nazi. And when the Soviets came, the Soviets understood after the Second World War that if they wanted to exert any form of influence over Hungary, they have to have people from the Hungarian government like on their sides. So those who were committing crimes during the Nazi era, they were left in their positions. They were still continuing to do whatever they wanted. It's just that this time it's not Hitler and the Nazi logo, but it's more, you know, Stalin and the Soviet propaganda. But they continued, you know, like to torture people and do all type of injustice at the time. So yeah, it's interesting how humans are capable of doing crazy stuff for their will of power and
Winter's always colder when you spend it all alone. I'm getting on my parents, they don't want me to come home. They want me to find a family.
Think of it at that time, like in the 50s, 60s, 70s, like the Americans, you know, regular American citizens, they could open businesses, like own hotels, own houses, travel. And here, like the countries under the Soviet regime, they were like, they didn't even have the right to speak. Yeah, I don't know. It should have been interesting to live in a world where, I mean, no, no, it wouldn't have been interesting. No, stop there. But it should have been interesting, like to hear more from the people who lived during that era and ask them such questions, you know, about like, I don't know, like, weren't you tempted, you know, by the freedom that other Western countries had, which wasn't propaganda, it was true. It wasn't propaganda that a Parisian or New Yorker had the freedom of speech or the right of travel or anything like that. That was a fact. Like living at that time under the communist or Soviet influence, like, I don't know, you wouldn't be like tempted to leave or have the same thing. We could still make a parallel with our today's world, like with North Korea, for example, that is quite closed, and who knows how the country will become in the future. Like, yeah, are the people living there right now happy, content, they have everything they need in terms of freedom, in terms of, I don't know, the right of ownership and things like that? Maybe in 10-20 years North Korea will be also as free as South Korea, and then you will hear more insights from the people living there. The building behind me, that one, is the Hungarian Parliament, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's considered the most beautiful parliament in the world. And it is quite hard to compete with it because you have a beautiful location right in front of the Danube river and a marvelous architecture. So let's sit in this cafe. I used to come here actually.